At the Brandy and Monica concert in Los Angeles, something unexpectedly charming unfolded backstage, something so ordinary, so familiar, and so deeply human that it instantly reminded the world that even the most iconic families deal with the same parenting moments everyone else does. Beyoncé and Jay-Z arrived quietly, slipping into the event with the ease and confidence that only a power couple of their stature can carry, accompanied by their youngest daughter, Rumi Carter, who looked wide-eyed and excited to be part of the night. It was one of those nostalgic R&B evenings filled with music, warmth, and energy, the kind that pulls people of every age into the moment without even trying. Rumi, now 8 years old, wasn't just observing the concert, she was completely immersed in it. She danced, she watched, she explored, and she absorbed every detail of the atmosphere. But as the night began to wind down, Beyoncé and Jay-Z decided it was time to leave early, perhaps to avoid the crowd, perhaps to keep the kids on schedule, or simply because the night had run its course. They quietly signaled to security that it was time to move. And that is exactly when everything shifted. Witnesses backstage said Rumi instantly resisted the idea of leaving, making it very clear that she wasn't ready for the night to end. In a voice filled with emotion and determination, she declared, "I don't want to go to the car," loud enough for everyone standing nearby to hear. It wasn't disrespect, and it wasn't misbehavior, it was the pure, unfiltered expression of a child who was having an unforgettable time and didn't want the moment to stop. Anyone who has ever dealt with an overstimulated, excited child immediately recognized what was happening. It was a classic parenting scenario just happening in a VIP hallway instead of a grocery store aisle. What surprised people most wasn't Rumi's protest, but Beyoncé and Jay-Z's response. There was no frustration, no embarrassment, no attempt to silence her for the sake of their image. Instead, both parents stayed completely calm. Beyoncé gently reassured her daughter that it was time to go, while Jay-Z offered quiet support beside her. There was no tension in their voices, no negotiation, no raised eyebrows, just patient parenting in the midst of flashing cameras, staff members, and curious onlookers who could barely believe they were witnessing such a normal family moment in such an extraordinary setting. Fans who later saw the reports online were stunned not by Rumi's reaction, but by the softness and composure Beyoncé and Jay-Z displayed. Social media quickly filled with jokes about how most of us would have received a very different response from our parents if we had dared to protest leaving a public place at full volume. Many people admitted that, in their own childhood, that one sentence, "I don't want to go," would have been enough to end the entire conversation with a look or a firm grab of the hand. But Beyoncé and Jay-Z handled it differently, offering a glimpse into a parenting style rooted in patience, empathy, and emotional intelligence. After a few minutes of gentle coaxing, Rumi eventually settled down and accepted that the night was over. She took her parents' hands and walked with them, still full of personality but calm enough to say goodbye to the concert. Witnesses described the moment as adorable and refreshingly genuine, a snapshot of normal family life tucked inside a world that rarely feels normal at all. When the story hit social media, it immediately went viral. People praised the Carters for their grounded parenting, with many calling it heartwarming to see such a high-profile couple navigate a childhood meltdown with grace instead of frustration. Memes rolled across TikTok and Twitter, celebrating the moment as one of those universally relatable scenes that transcend fame. A child not wanting to leave a fun place, and parents doing their best to guide her through the disappointment. The moment also reminded people that celebrity children are still children. They get overstimulated, they get excited, they get emotional, and they learn boundaries the same way all kids do through experience. Even in a family surrounded by billion-dollar business ventures, world tours, and endless public attention, parenting remains parenting, unpredictable, emotional, and full of tiny moments that shape the bond between parent and child. For fans, the incident felt like a peek behind the curtain, not into fame or glamour, but into something much more meaningful. It showed Beyoncé and Jay-Z not as larger-than-life icons, but as mom and dad, guiding their daughter with patience and understanding while the world looked on. It was a reminder that beneath all the spotlight and superstardom, their greatest role is the same role shared by millions of families everywhere. And that's why the moment resonated so deeply. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't scandalous, and it wasn't scripted. It was real. It was human. It was universal. Even royalty, it seems, sometimes has to pause the world for a child who simply isn't ready for the night to end.